Thank you again, Cindy, to involving us in the Maine State Library. My name is Jared Leadbetter, and I've only been with the Maine State Library a few years, and it's really just been about as long as we've had a relationship with Cornerstones of Science. In fact, it was only a few months that I was there when we were introduced to a little fusion reactor that actually has a name, Cindy. And it was just a very impressive meeting because we weren't sure exactly what was going to happen, but it turns out she had all the ideas and really was able to spark our imaginations and engage us to a partnership that I think we've been enjoying for the past couple of years to a great extent. And we've been able to share that with libraries throughout the state. The Tech Petting Zoo. And it's kind of a fun name. I've actually had people walk into some of my presentations with their kids in their strollers, thinking, of course, that there might be some animals, but disappointed. It started 2 years ago when we at the Maine State Library decided we really need to push out digital literacy. And one of the things that we did was we went around the state to 11 different locations and asked, this is our real initiative, what can we do to support you, our librarians, in digital literacy? And one of the answers that we received back from almost every location, if not every location, was tablets. We need mobile device training, we need e-readers, we need, because these devices change very quickly, and they're resources that not every library can afford, so can you provide us with tablets and training on tablets? And we said, sure. And about a year later, we had 36 devices, basically 6 of 6 different types of devices, that we were able to put together and offer training. And to date, we have about 70 libraries that have taken advantage of that training in one form or another. And that extends the gamut, meaning public, academic, school libraries. Jackson Labs actually took advantage of these devices. So we're really finding that it's been a new level of engagement and that people are hungry for this sort of training in their libraries. The patrons are hungry, the librarians are hungry, and so we've said, well, what's next? And one of the answers that we've heard, pretty concretely, is 3D printing. And so our approach to that was to go out and get a 3D printer, 2 in fact, and start exploring that particular world. And we've already broken one, so we've done some good exploring. But it's fixed, it's just one of those things where when you're exploring something new, you actually kind of want things like that to happen because you learn more when you break these things than if everything works perfectly. I just had visions of if I didn't push the envelope, then I'd be at some library showing it off and it would explode in a fireball, and I'd be like, well, that's just part of what it does. Like, don't ignore that. Where's the fire extinguisher? But really, again, this is all in the service to digital literacy. And one of the great things that we're trying to do with 3D printing is recognize there are a lot of people at the table that want to start this conversation. There are, aside from Cornerstones of Science and us, we have also made contact with the Maine Fab Lab, who's very interested and eager to assist this process. And we are starting that process by having a small number of schools and libraries, including some of the benefactors of the Cornerstones of Science grant, come to talk and start ironing out what a statewide deployment might look like. So that is actually something that is fairly imminent. And we are interested in really making this, again, a success, a viable way for libraries to be able to get their hands on these devices and encourage them to think, what can we be doing with these devices that will really spark the imagination, that will get that creative interest in science aflame in our communities. So this is one of our hurdles, but with Cornerstones of Science, I think we won't have any real problems. We're really looking at especially engaging the schools because that's the children of this day and age they don't have the same hurdles that some of us might about the imagination. And if you infect them with this love for science and this love for creation, it tends to become viral very, very quickly, very easily. So that's one of our definite initiatives about this. And again, appreciation is shown to Cornerstones in Science because they've been willing to say, we are willing to provide grants to libraries. Let's work together and provide the training so that we can have solid programming throughout communities, throughout the entire state. And I feel this is just, this is just the tip of the effort, because I think 3D printing, once we get it, once we really have that solid understanding, there's always going to be, like before, what's next? What's the next step that we're going to be doing? So I think we're starting to walk in this path alongside one another, where we have these partnerships that just very easily form when we start engaging in these areas of common interest. So I feel very confident that along with your support, your interest in these initiatives, we'll see this deployed throughout the state. And Cindy, I just want to offer you, I just printed this off this morning. This is just a little, what's called a stretchlet. And we'll see what luck we have, because the first one of these that we printed off, our new state librarian took upon himself to try to fit over his monkey paw. And it snapped in the process. But with Cindy, she has the grace and lithe wrists of a true queen. So thank you again. So other additions to the tech petting zoo, we are really trying to get the pulse of our libraries. We're expanding into, for example, the idea of devices that libraries are starting to encounter, like Surface Pros, or even with Janet's help, the GoPro, which is a very high definition, high speed camera, which is used for cinematography. I don't know if you know, but they've actually taken a drone using a GoPro through the New York Public Library and done some very impressive cinematographic just results from using these tools. But I
just really wanted to get a GoPro on Jared's head and see what happened throughout the state of Maine with the tech petting zoo, but
only if it can be built into the ringmaster hat.
Right, yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. But we have other things to assist the technology with 3D printing. We have a 3D scanner, and part of the reason that we chose the model that we did, we have access to something called Thingiverse, which, if you don't know, is an online database of already created CAD designs to be printed for the 3D printers. And we've been, if you care, we have some things over here that we've taken from Thingiverse and printed off just as examples of the device's capabilities. Some successful, and the not so successful ones are back at home. We try to, brush those under the rug a little bit, but sometimes they're as informative as the successes, and oftentimes more so. So again, what we're doing, our mission is really very much the same as Cindy's, creating that digital literacy, creating outreach to our libraries, no matter what type, and really trying to form these partnerships that will sustain us one step at a time as we face new challenges and new interests. So thank you all.
Any further comments from the peanut gallery?
yeah, I just wanted to add that, part of my feeling about the technology petting zoo, in addition to it's a response to requests from libraries about the latest e-readers and the latest technology, is also to be a platform where we're exploring brand new technologies like the GoPro camera. Jared asked for a drone the other day, so gotta think that. And we want to get Google Glass too. We want to be able to bring emerging technologies to libraries so that your patrons associate emerging technologies and the ability to see them and experiment with them and learn about them with public libraries. And so, that's a really important thing. And so, as the Tech Petting Zoo kind of started with libraries saying there's so many e-readers and we keep, somebody brings something in and we don't have any experience and any hands-on with it, the Tech Petting Zoo is kind of evolving into, kind of a hands-on exploratory lab, that can go around to libraries.
Excellent. Yes, Lou.
Excuse me. I just want to make a comment that there are two really separate aspects of science that we're now talking about. One of them is the 3D printer type, where you're trying to tell people what the latest technology is and don't be afraid of it, you can use it, and the 3D printer is wonderful. By the way, I like the description of 3D printing as additive construction rather than subtraction construction. Ordinary machining is subtractive. This one is the opposite, it's additive. And once you begin to think about it that way, you don't think about it so much as 3D, but you think about, what is really going on, that you can make something which is additive and end up with a device. But the main thing I wanted to say is that all of these tools are very different from the tools of the telescope and the microscope, because those are letting you look into a world of science, and that is basically a world of curiosity, especially the microscope. And we all in Cornerstones believe that the microscope, as we go forward with it, and it's a much more complex problem, will, at the end of the day, be a cornerstone of cornerstones. Because the small microscope that you'll see here, that I presume we'll be talking about, is really for kids. Take out on field trips, look at things under a microscope at magnification of 10, 100, maybe even more, and begin to explore the world at the microscopic level. That's very, very different, of course. But I'd like to just say right now, because I might not have the opportunity with all the things going on. By the way, what a joy it is to see you all here. I can't anywhere as a founder, this is but I have to tell you that we started with the concept of emphasizing the great books of science, with the thought no one should read a science book that he doesn't like. Why should he be turned off by reading a science book? He should be turned on, and especially children and teenagers. And so that's where we started. But in 15 years now, almost 15 years, there have been many programs started in Cornerstones of Science. And looking back at them, I can't think of a single one that was a failure. It stopped because we didn't have the resources, but it never failed. And that tells you that it isn't us that's making it successful, it's the pull of your patrons, this desire to open the window into science that has been closed to them for so long. And I really believe that you can touch any part of science. And if you can make that comprehensible to any part of your community, you'll be successful.